Now, with Kathleen Kennedy having 3 major failures on her end over at Lucasfilm, we have Solo: A Star Wars Story, the Willow series, as well as now the latest Indiana Jones 5. Those are the 3 big flops that she has dealt with throughout her career over at Lucasfilm, and it's not a good image for her, it's not a good image for Disney, and it's definitely not a good image for how things are being run over at Lucasfilm for the Star Wars franchise. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy now. Now, as you all know, pretty much the box office for Indiana Jones 5 has come to a complete pause, as I like to call it, this financial freeze, if you will, where basically a lot of factors came into play. The Sound of Freedom was a very big hit for Indiana Jones 5, Insidious Chapter 5, The Red Door, as well as Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1. That also played a major aspect. But it wasn't just that, it was the story itself that had a lot of flaws, and even Phoebe Waller-Bridge's portrayal of Helena Shaw was a very big issue at hand. Now, looking at Kathleen Kennedy here, and what she had to say yet again, hopping on the apology train to better her image, and to essentially better her overall view of course, how she runs Lucasfilm to the overall public around the globe. This is a desperate attempt on her end, and another form of damage control that just keeps getting worse and more embarrassing on her end. Let's discuss. Now, on top of all of this, with Kathleen Kennedy struggling heavily with the Indy 5 box office collapse, Kennedy has been trying to heavily defend Lucasfilm recently. Kennedy was able to deliver the following to everyone by dropping something revealing. We here at Lucasfilm have come to realize that our latest film, Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny, did not meet everyone's expectations, and that it is something that we are all very sorry about, and I am apologetic over for the fans and this community. We, however, do not believe that we made a bad product for our audience, but we did hold a marketing mishap, and I take full responsibility for that lack of judgment on my end for this film. We are happy to announce that as we look forward to expanding the Indiana Jones franchise, as well as Star Wars and more, with this film, we will be learning it and actually taking it as a learning experience for us at Lucasfilm on how to properly promote a series or a film to the general public and how we are able to do that properly. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Kathleen Kennedy is that she is obviously playing the blame game on the marketing. She did the same exact thing with Solo: A Star Wars Story. Same exact thing. Blaming of how, we didn't get this out there as much as we should have. Maybe we should have rethought our strategy with that, etc., etc. And it is just a very big scapegoat looking at the marketing instead of the creative aspects of this film. And that's the true problem at hand, is that she should have gotten somebody better than James Mangold that understands Indiana Jones. And look, guys, I love Logan. I think that Logan's a great movie and all. Mangold really knocked it out of the park with that one, in my opinion. So maybe that's why they wanted him on board of that Boba Fett movie that was going to be near rated R. But we also know that they wanted him on board of Indiana Jones because they figured that he would really deliver to Lucasfilm because he had such a hit success with Logan. Not always the case, a lot of these directors tend to have different fits available for them, some strengths and weaknesses, and he's just not fit for Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny. And it wasn't just that, though. It was also a lot to do with the fact of how Kathleen Kennedy was pushing in Phoebe Waller-Bridge as Helena Jones, as I like to call her, by the way. And, we just have a lot of problems with that. So, what they really should have done was they should have cut out Helena, threw in maybe like a relative to Indiana Jones, maybe, something around those lines where maybe they could have done something with that and kind of passed down the torch properly. That would have been, I think, a little bit more fitting to kind of keep in that family aspect that George Lucas loves so very much. Now, on top of this, alright, this is where things get even more complex, is that She goes on to elaborate, the problem is you can't listen to fans. These films and shows are not for the fans, but they are meant for everyone, and that is the one big challenge that we tend to face on how does a film or series gravitate towards such a wide audience in a balanced manner. That's the true challenge we always deal with when it involves Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and how we look to the future is another big step that we need to figure out. Again, I want to be clear, we don't believe we made an underwhelming film for our audience upon our analysis into the feedback. We are getting such great reviews, yet we got a far lower return than normal this time around. And that is something I take responsibility for, and where and how I and others at Lucasfilm regulate those plans to promote said products is something we are in the talks about right now. We thank everyone for taking their time into watching The Dial, and it has been such a thrill being a part of this process. Now, that's, of course, Kennedy going into full damage control, really kind of putting it out there that, yeah, we screwed up, we really messed up our marketing, and that is, of course, the source of our issues, where really, guys, it's not. You know, I mean, she is taking responsibility, quote-unquote, on something that is really not even the real problem. Which really isn't taking responsibility, let's be honest here. She knows what happened. She damn well knows exactly what is wrong with this latest installment, is that we really did not need this movie, number one. It could have just been left alone. And if anything, they could have just maybe done a recast or kind of focused more so on the de-aging stuff to kind of give us the Indiana that we all grew up with, stuff like that. And Kathy Kennedy, you know, saying that generic robotic corporate response about how we can take our failure and apply it to another success, or learning from our failures and applying it to our other projects, etc. Bob Iger did the same exact thing, by the way, with the Galactic Star Cruiser experience shutting down by this September, saying, oh, you know, you can just take that experience, apply it to something else. It's just such a generic response, and it's really not taking responsibility for anything other than just saying, yeah, you know, we failed, and we could just take that failure to make something better. But in reality, they never did anything good. So, it's interesting to see now how we had both Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy being so confident, by the way, saying this several times that they believe that this film was going to garner $1 billion at the box office. Then they actually diminished that down to 800, then 600, and then now suddenly they're admitting defeat. And it's just hilarious, because that just goes to show you that they will really say anything to keep the fans intact, to keep fans going, of course, into the theaters, to bring them into the seats and watch this thing and get a ticket and boost sales. That's basically what it comes down to. So I think it's going to be even all the more interesting to see what happens with Lucasfilm when all is said and done, when Indiana Jones 5 is out of theaters. And we already know that Disney hit the panic button just 2 days ago. We talked about this, about how they are already pulling it out of theaters as we speak. A lot of you came forward to me saying how it is releasing out of theaters by you at a rapid rate. Same exact thing applies for me, by the way, guys. So, a lot of problems over at Lucasfilm. And as I like to say, big trouble at little Lucasfilm. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.